Builders of Egypt. Is it going to be a win or a bin? Let's have a quick read through of the description on Steam. Builders of Egypt is a city building economic strategy taking place in the Nile Valley. Immerse yourself in a world full of pyramids where you become a part of the ancient world. Create history, be history. Yeah, so this is me coming back after a bit of a long time since my last video. Main reason being, in fact, is because the account where I tend to get my keys from was somehow inaccessible for some time. There were a few problems with it, so that's since been put to bed. Unfortunately, in that time, because I've not been posting anything, the amount of points, should we say in inverted commas, that you need to be able to get these keys has decreased because I've not been posting any content, so it's been a bit of a vicious circle. So anyway, I'm back here with this. I have been given a free playtest of the full version thus far of Builders of Egypt. There is currently a free demo, but this in fact is the full playtest. I'm going to keep this brief because, of course, with a playtest, the whole point of it is it's not finished. It's not even anywhere like finished. You can't say that it's going to be like the finished articles. So it's just going to be an overview as to what it is, and maybe I'll pick up on a few points that have been good or bad so far. So just taking a look through the graphical options and other various options of the game, there is quite a few things available to you at this early stage. So there's plenty just to change to suit your needs at the beginning. So yeah, all good so far. At the moment, you can do a few single missions. Now, there will be a campaign in this game, so I went through, I think, probably the vast majority of the single missions that are available. They're all effectively similar in that you have to either create a certain amount of a resource or export a certain amount of a resource or import a certain amount of resource combined with general happiness of the people living in your city that you're creating. I will say now I don't particularly like the visuals, so as you're seeing from the video, it is as the game looks. I think the graphics could be improved. I think generally the color schemes are a little bit poor. I don't really like the lighting too much, and sometimes when you get near the water and you zoom in, things don't look very great at all. It's a little bit, I don't know, I wouldn't say glitchy, but it doesn't look very good at all, I would say. But again, as I said at the beginning, it's all playtest, so things could change. But certainly things like the visuals, you'd imagine that they would have a firm root in what they actually want to do. So if this is how the finished released product will look, perhaps it will need revising by the developer. I mean, not only do the buildings look a little bit poor, the people, if you zoom in enough, and the carts that are moving around, they're very, very poorly animated. They're quite glitchy as well, even though my frames are well between, I would say, for the overall time that I've been playing, between 45 FPS and 60. Yeah, it shouldn't be causing any issues. There's a lot of history in this game. Before each mission, there's a lot of text to read. If you're interested in all that, I'm sure it's fantastic and fascinating. Me, not so much, so a little bit wordy, but I'm not going to put that down as a criticism. But once you do get into the game, you can carry all of that background knowledge in with you, should you so wish. So there's definitely been a lot of thought gone into this, actually. And for that, there's a lot of credit for the people who are into their history for the game, and they are trying to set a scene for you, so fair play to that. These missions are all very, very guided. You can't go off and do what you want. They are restricting you and quite literally ring-fencing you into certain things. So you can, as you start going through these missions, only build in certain areas where they tell you to build. Yes, you have the freedom of choice of where to put the buildings, but within a certain area, there is a restriction in that sense. So there's not much freedom at the moment, and there's no free play, but it's fine. It's just giving you a handle of how things click together. It's a fairly typical game. You put down dwellings for your citizens, people will move in. The more homes you have, you create places of work. There are things like fire stations, wells, there's mines, there's marketplaces, stockpiles, all the usual stuff that you'd expect. The produce that you make go to the stockpile or the granary. People will consume things, and this is where it becomes a little bit, I would say, unorganized or disorganized. I don't know the best word there, but it's not very good in that sense, because, for example, if you click on a stockpile, you can choose to export a certain item, or not export a certain item, or just keep something or switch it entirely off so it's not even being stockpiled. Now, there's a couple of screens that do similar things. There's the overarching export-import screen, where you can choose whether or not you are going to export a good or import a good. So it seems to be double-handled in a way, and it's hard to know which one will supersede the other one. I think it would be far better if they just centralized what you were able to export or import from one screen, whereas they seem to have spread it across multiple places, and for me that's not great. I found the zone of influence of certain buildings quite difficult to keep on top of at times. There was one particular mission where you built a couple of, should we say, towns and cities in very different places, so you would have to keep flitting between the two. And you're just trying to work out the zone of influence of a certain building. Sometimes you click on a building, you don't see a zone of influence, despite the fact there clearly is a zone of influence as to where people can reach the building. And other buildings, you do have a zone of influence. There's things like that which just seem a little bit not quite ironed out. Another thing is, most of the buildings, if not all of them, you seem to be able to click on, and I did find that you couldn't do this with the fisherman's wharf, which means you can't see anything about who's working on it, things like that. It's very hard to keep on top of your building upgrades because a lot of what you need to achieve the mission is to keep people happy in their homes, and these buildings have certain levels. These houses have certain levels. Although you can click on the house and you can see a couple of status bars, I don't think it's entirely clear what needs to be improved upon if they're not happy. Yes, there are ways that you could hazard a guess, but I don't think it's entirely concise. I think it could be improved to be a bit more clear as to what is lacking to upgrade a dwelling, for example, to achieve your mission. Otherwise, you end up just guessing, I don't know if I need to have a building that's closer or an extra building. Sometimes it's not entirely clear. I don't think it's laid out particularly well in that sense. I do like the array of goods that you can have in this game. There's some good things, and I think this game has a lot of good intention. I love the history. I like the different things that you can make. I like the idea that you can trade with all of these different cities, and there will be armies coming and various other things that are coming to the game that aren't available yet. So actually, I think this does have a lot of potential, and I think they are really trying. So I hope this pans out really well for them and they take on board any feedback and it comes out a good, solid, polished game. Because I think it has a lot of potential, and it's a period of history where there isn't too many current games that deal with ancient Egypt as a city builder game. So I think this could be good. But right now, a lot more work does need to be done. It's very slow as well. Things take a lot of time, not to build, but just to sort of get new people in and just waiting for things to upgrade, such as your dwellings. Things just don't seem to move particularly fast. So yeah, good luck to the developer. This is not a critical video, although I haven't particularly enjoyed it. I can see exactly what you're trying to do. So right now, not great, but if you take on board everything and you're as enthusiastic as I suspect you are, this will come out good.